So today what we're going to do is we're going to go into Schoology and I'm going to show you how to take notes. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do, you'll notice that it's hands-on equations, part 1. So we're going to go into that. And today we're going to have some note templates. Hands-on equations, a lot of the time, will be your app, the one that we downloaded, the other day. Okay? And I'll walk you through it. Right now we're just going to do the notes. Okay? So I want you just to stay in notes. Even though I bebop between the different things, stay in notes. Does that make sense to you? Okay, for right now? All right, and then I'll help you upload your app later. So I'm going to go into notes. I'm going to go into hands-on equations. Okay, I'm going to take this then from Schoology and I'm going to upload it into Notability. Okay? It says okay. And then I'm going to go into my Notability. And the notes should appear. Import them. And I'm going to open them. Okay. Now, we're going to do notes almost every day. There's a new section in here. I'm going to encourage you to actually have a algebra notebook in Notability. All right? That you just put your notes in. It's going to help you out a lot. Now, the way I teach you algebra, the first 3 chapters, is going to be different. Okay? All I'm asking you to do is to have a very open mind. Okay? It's going to be different. And some kids are like, I'm not doing it the way you're doing it, I'm doing it my way. Okay? You can try to do it your way, but eventually you're going to hit a brick wall because it's going to get really wicked toward the end. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like later. And you're going to go, oh my goodness. Because I'm going to use X's and I'm going to use stars. I'm going to use positive numbers. I'm going to use negative numbers. We're going to use red cubes. We're going to use green cubes. We're going to use white pawns. And we're going to use blue pawns. And your parents won't be able to help you because it's not the way they learned it. Okay? It's going to be different. Again, keep an open mind. Right? Think back into elementary school when you used to do something for fun and you just did it because it was fun. Okay? Open mind. Okay? You with me? Alright. So we're going back to elementary school. We're going to learn a little bit about algebra. Right? This chapter, we're going to solve for x. We're going to use the basic part of it. Order of operations, we're going to do basic. And distributive properties are going to be basic. Basic, basic, basic. Okay? So pretend you're first graders and you don't know how to do any algebra. Okay? Alright, now, take a look at the first question we have here. It says, what do you think hands-on equations means? What do you think hands-on means? Yes? I'm not going to use a calculator. I really don't need it. Yeah? Think back elementary school. If I say hands-on building or hands-on drawing, or hands on whatever, what am I doing? I'm using my hands, okay? So, use, oops, that was pretty good. Gotta pick this up. So I'm going to use, sorry, let's try one more time, shall we? They say it's the 3rd time is the charm. Do you think that's it?
Sometimes.
I hope so. Better. Okay, use our hands to do what? We're going to use our hands to work on equations or solve equations. Absolutely. So solve or work on equations. Okay? That's what we're doing. We're going to use our hands. We're going to use a bunch of manipulatives to solve equations. Okay, now, let's go down a little bit more. I am telling you that equations are like a balance. Okay? What do we know about a balance? What do we know about them? We want them to do what? Yes. We want them to be even or to be equal on both sides. Okay, so we want both sides to be even / equal. That's a test question. Boy, that's tough, isn't it? It makes sense. When we see a balance, we want both sides to be equal, otherwise it makes us feel kind of funky, right? Okay. So what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So if on one side I add 5 pounds, then on the other side I have to add 5 pounds. If I take 15 pounds from one side, I need to take 15 from the other. So what we do to one side, we must do to the other side. Okay, and that's really important. And you've probably seen that before. If I add 5 to both sides, you gotta do it to both. Can't just do it to one. If I take it from one side, I'm gonna take it from the other. Okay? Questions on this? Excellent. Okay. In this chapter, we're going to be using pawns and cubes. Okay, we're going to use pawns and cubes. The little thing that looks like a chess piece, do you know what I'm talking about? A chess piece? That's a pawn. Okay? And it's going to represent a variable. We're going to use X for the variable. You could use Y, you could use Z, you could use M, you could use alpha, beta, gamma, whatever you want. Okay? But for our purposes, we're going to use X, and it can change in value. That's why it's a variable. So that pawn right there could be 2, it could be 10, it could be 15, it could be 1,000,000. Okay? So the pawn varies in value. Okay? Now that thing that's an F, that's actually supposed to be a number cube. It kind of copied wrong. That stands for a number. So it can be a 2. And I know it was a 2 because it actually have a 2 on it, right? Okay. Or it could be a 3. It would have the number 3 on it. And it's an actual cube and nothing changes. If it's 2, it's 2. Because it says that it's 2 on it. Okay. Questions? Okay. Now it brings us to this. We're going to be taking some notes today, and what I want you to do is I want you to write example B. Now, the way I do notes, I want you to take notes the way that I do notes, and the reason why I do is because it's going to help you later when we get to the super hard problems, okay? If I work up and down, I want you to work up and down. If I work across, I want you to work across. Why? Because it's going to be easier later. You're not going to get your work all mushy. Okay? All right, now, I'm going to go to my apps. You're not going to go to your apps. You're going to stay on the screen that you're on. Okay? Yesterday, we started downloading hands-on equations, and it looked like this. Okay? And I'm going to help you later, and I'm going to get you through the menu. Okay? And we're going to do exercise B first. Now, if you take a look at this, you're going to notice that there are 2 little pawns. Do you see that? And they're blue. Do I know what they're worth? I mean, right now, just by looking at it, do I know what they're worth? I don't, do I? I don't know what they're worth. I don't know how much they weigh, and I don't know their value. All I know is that I have a blue pawn there. In fact, I got 2 of them, don't I? Okay? Then I have a 3 cube. Do I know the value of that 3? Yeah, it's 3, right? So, okay, so that's one side of the balance. In the middle of the balance, that is an equal sign. That's going to be our equal sign. And then on the other side, I have an 8 and I have a 5. So that's this. Watch how I write this now. Okay? So I'm going to go to my notes where you're going to be taking notes. Okay? And I'm going to write X plus x, okay, because I had 2 blue ponds, right? Plus 3 equals 8 plus 5. Okay? So you write that down in your notes. Okay? Don't do anything. So I see people starting to get trigger happy. They're starting to add stuff and do stuff to it. Just write this down right now. Okay? Now I'm going to go back to my app. Okay? Sorry. Okay? Now, take a look at the equation that you had written down. I got a blue pawn, which is x. I got another blue pawn, which is x. I got the 3 cubed, which is your 3. And then I did an equal sign, yes? And then I got 8, and then I got a plus, and I got a 5, don't I? Okay? So I just set it up. Now I'm going to go back to my notes. Okay, now, can you guess what you think x is going to be? What do you think x would be? It's a guess, yes.
5.
He thinks it's 5. Okay? So I'm going to write x equals 5. Notice that I put it right underneath what I just did. And it's a guess. Not adding anything, I'm not taking anything away, I'm just guessing today. Okay? Now what I want you to do is I want you to take a line and I want you to put it kind of in the middle of your paper. And on the other side, what I want you to do is I want you to write check. And I want you to underline it. This is where hands-on equations stops being elementary ed and starts being high school math. Okay? So what I'm going to do right underneath that check is I'm going to write my original problem. And you go, Mrs. Medvick, I just did. Why am I doing it again? Because everything I do in here, there's a reason. The next step that I do is going to be substitution. And it's going to get more difficult as we get through the harder math. Today it's just really easy. So now I'm going to take out my x's, and what am I going to put in for that x? I'm going to put in 5. So right underneath that first x, I'm going to write a 5. So 5 plus, I'm going to take out this next x and I'm going to put in a 5 plus 3 equals 8 plus 5. Okay? So again, I took out the x and I put in the 5. And then I put the 3 down, the equal down, the 8 down, the 5 down. And notice that it just like, I took it out and right down underneath it, right? Fits right in there. You just did substitution. Okay? Now, checks we do using order of operations. And remember, it's whichever comes first from left to right. What kids want to do is they want to do mental math. And they're going to want to do 5 plus 3 first. Don't do that. Do one step at a time. And I know it's easy right now, and you're going to go, seriously, Mrs. Medvick, one step at a time? Yes, I do mean that. Because when it gets harder, you'll have something to fall back on. Okay? So I'm going to do a little carrot thing. And I'm going to write 10. And then I'm going to go plus 3. Plus 3 equals. Now, because you have 2 sides of the equation, you can do one step on each side of the equation. Okay, so if you want to add the 8 plus 5 here, you may. You don't have to, but you can. Because it's one step at a time on either side of the equation. And then 10 plus 3 is 13, and that equals 13. And I think that's a check. I think I'm good. And I'm also going to circle my answer because I think that's my answer. Okay? Now, I'm going to hold that for just a minute. You keep on your notes, and we're going to go back to the app, and I'm going to show you the power of the app. And this is why I do the app, and this is why I like the app. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my hands-on equations. It's popping out. It's all right. I'm going to go to this exercise. Now, what did we say x was? 5. Okay? And on the check at the bottom, we said what? 13 equals 13. Make sure that you write at the bottom of your problem 13 equals 13. If you don't, I'll hand you back your homework and say, do it again. That's really important that at the bottom it says 13 equals 13. It's easy now, and I get that, but eventually it's going to get tough. Okay? So 13 equals 13. Look at that, I'm a star. Isn't that amazing? Okay? All right, we're moving on. All right, so here's example C. All right, so I'm going to have x plus 1 equals, because we're in the middle of the balance, x plus 5. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my notes now. Okay? I'm going to draw a line across. I'm going to go example C. Because I'm tight. And I'm going to write down what that was, what I just said. So x plus x plus x plus 1 equals x plus 5. Do you guys get that? Are we okay with that, or do you need to go back to the app? Are we okay with this? Are there questions? You need to do this in your notes because this is how you open up the app. Otherwise, you can't get to your homework without doing these examples. So it's really important to take good notes. Okay. Now, x equals. What do you think x equals? Does anyone have any guesses? Yes.
2.
He thinks it's 2. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, if you are wrong, what's going to happen? What happens if you're wrong? You're going to have to retry it, and the check, will it work? No, you wouldn't get like 13 equals 13. You'd get like 2 equals 10. So then you just got to retry. You got to erase what you did, and you got to try it again. Okay? Right now we're at that stage. Okay, so I'm going to come back here now, and I'm going to write check. I'm going to rewrite the problem. And I know it's terrible, and you hate me. It's okay. It's not hard. It's just a little tedious. And for right now, that's where we're at. Okay, and I'm going to take out my x, and what am I going to put in? 2. So I'm going to go 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals 2 plus 5. Okay? And I'm going to go from left to what? Right. One step at a time. So what kids want to do is they want to go 7 equals 7. Ah! No! No, we're not doing that. Okay? What another thing that kids will do is they go 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. No, don't do that. You're going to do one step at a time. So left to right. 2 plus 2 is? 4. Okay, and again, on this side, I can write 7 because it's a separate side of the equation. What's 4 plus 2? 6. Okay, and then 7 equals 7. This is what I want to see. Okay? I want to see those steps. So what's going to happen is on your test or your quiz, you don't do one step at a time from left to right. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to put a little arrow and I'm going to write step, question mark. You skip a step. The problem is when we start getting more involved problems, you might have to multiply first before you add. Or you might have to subtract first before you add. Okay, if you start doing mental math and you're all over the place, you're not going to get order of operations. Okay, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. We okay? Okay, so then what I do is I'm going to go back to my app. Yeah, see, it kicked me out. I'm so excited. Okay, and I go to C, and what do I put in for X? What did we say it was?
2.
2, and at the bottom I got
7.
7 equals 7. I'm a star, okay? And then notice it opened up all my lesson. This is your homework, 1 through 10. So what you do is you go in, you do your homework. When you get done, you pump it through, and then when you're done, you push next, and it's going to take you to the second one, and to the third one, and to the fourth one, and the fifth one, and you're going to go all the way through 10. That's your assignment for tonight is 1 through 10. Does that make sense to you? Perfect. All right. So your assignment tonight is going to be lesson 1, 1 through 10. I will walk you through this. Okay, so if ever you're absent at this point in time, if you don't know how to do it, you would call a friend and go, okay, I'm not quite sure now what to do. What would I do? And you could walk them through it. Okay? All right.